Welcome back to the Morning Show here on the Rise News. I am Adesoa Omoruan.
And I'm Rufai Oseni.
Well, we begin in Lagos, where a pipeline along the Jegun axis of satellite town in Lagos, Nigeria, has exploded, stirring panic within the vicinity, leaving many to scamper for safety.
Earlier footages on social media captured the flame and people running helter-skelter in a bid to avoid being caught up in the flames. As of the time of filing this report, 2 people were already confirmed dead and about 30 vehicles damaged.
Well, the Rise News crew is on ground and they will be bringing us more detailed updates as efforts are being made to engage the necessary authorities. Well, away from the pipeline explosion, let's turn our attention to the security. Many experts have identified poor funding of the Nigerian security architecture as a major challenge in dealing with insecurity across the country. Earlier this week, the One Nigeria movement reeled out a 5-point agenda to the National Assembly to complement the military's brave fight against terrorism.
In a statement signed by the convener, Comrade Ibrahim Dala, the group said the move has become imperative owing to the grossly inadequate funding accorded to the military in the past.
And the group, however, advised the Ninth National Assembly to put an end to lip service, politics and religion, as well as ethnicity, while drastically improving the annual budget of the military.
Right, joining us now from our studios in Abuja is the President CEO of Security Watch Africa Initiatives, Patrick Aghambu. His passion has always been to ensure safe and secure Africa. Good morning and welcome. Great to have you. Patrick? Hello, Patrick?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm hearing you.
All right, so good morning once again, Patrick. Patrick, I just want you to help us make sense of the security challenges that is constantly bedeviling this country. Quite a large country, 923,000 square meters. How can you effectively secure this with just 350,000 police officers and less than 100,000 military troops in this country?
Yeah, thank you very much. Securing Nigeria is not impossible. It's something that could be done and should be done if all hands are on deck. Yes, the number is quite inadequate. The manpower of the Nigerian police force and the Nigerian military put together is quite inadequate. But that is why we always say that security is everybody's business. It's not only those who in uniform that should provide security services. Every citizen of Nigeria is a security person, him or herself. So if we all join hands together and ensure that we provide security for ourselves and our immediate environment, then by and large, the whole country can be covered. That is a step to take. Secondly is the use of technology. The world over now, technology has helped to be able to cover some other gaps that may not be physically covered by human presence. The number, even though the number is quite inadequate, but it's still possible to secure Nigeria effectively.
All hands need to be on deck, and we do understand that. But a lot of people have cited the issue of poor funding. What, in your own opinion, is really the greatest challenge to tackling this faceted insecurity we are facing in the country? Is it truly poor funding?
Yes, poor funding is a major challenge that the security sector, security architecture in Nigeria is facing. It's really a bad situation, in fairness. But there is also the aspect of the proper application or applying the funds that are available to those things that are very, very necessary. If we look back in recent past, we'll find out that some of the funds that were made available were not judiciously used for what it should be. And so even though we are crying of poor funding, what about the available funds that were there? What were they deployed for? What were they used for? So I think that first, funding is very, very necessary. Nigeria is ranked one of the least funded security sectors in the world. Even We are not among those who spend very much in area of security. But we should also look at the administration of these funds, the appropriation of these funds to the needful of issues of security.
Right, let's talk a little bit more about funding. Let's talk about what will be the ideal funding threshold. I mean, year on year, from about 2011 to about 2015, especially when we had, the Niger Delta militant on rampage, we had issues of men and things like that. Year on year, the votes to security in the national budget was up there, was the highest in the national budget. But it looks as though nothing has been done. So with all of this funding, what will be the ideal threshold, for funding of the police, for funding of the military, for funding of the Air Force? Because it seems to be never enough. Only recently, we had a back and forth because the Nigerian government wanted to buy a surveillance plane, and that kept on going back and forth. Issues of corruption were raised. We all remember the Jonathan administration antecedents, where stash of money was put in a certain private jet owned by certain individuals and was taken to South Africa to go buy arms for the black market. So how can we really get to this optimal threshold of funding, and what conversations should we really have about funding? And let's also juxtapose that to security of our pipelines. See what is currently happening in the Jigu right about now. Fire burning in the Jigu because some vandals got in there, they got hold of the place, they're scooping fuel, they're scooping oil, and this brought about a fire. Just replica of what happened in JSA many, many years ago, 1997, 1998. So how can we really meet this threshold of funding across board?
Yeah, funding, we can really not exhaust the issue of funding and the importance of funding in any sector of life. Though no nation can have enough or sufficient fund for every aspect of its activities, that is true. But security is paramount, because without security, there can't be any meaningful development. There can't be any development. So there is need for governments, individuals, and organizations to look at issues of funding security effectively and efficiently. But like you pointed out, funds were appropriated, were allocated to some issues of security in the past, but not properly managed, not properly used. We are not going back there again. We are looking forward now. From now, we should be able to see that any fund that is given to security sector must be judiciously used for its efficiency so that we can move forward. Yes, you pointed out some very sterling issues, and the issue of security taking the front burner in our national budget. But I beg to disagree, because it depends on the ratio of what we are looking at. Because if you look at the various sectors of security, the intelligence gathering, the proactiveness, and the reactive section, you find out that we tend to put more funds in reactive section of security instead of intelligence gathering and instead of proactiveness, or instead of training. I believe that we should prioritize our security funding spending to the issue of gathering intelligence, sensitizing the people properly on issues of security, then being proactive so that we can be able to have a better security for the country.
Okay, Mr. Patrick, hold your thoughts. We'll come back to discuss more on how we can tackle the insecurity challenges in Nigeria. But we have to go to Ijego now in Lagos, where we have our crew monitoring the explosion of the pipeline there. And then we'll come back to you in Abuja to discuss some more. We are... Okay, Mr. Patrick, we might have to continue with you. We've lost connection with our crew in Ijego for the moment. Let's turn our attention to the issue of the farmer headers clashes. Up until 48 hours ago, the federal government was convinced that the Rugo settlement was the way forward, was the silver bullet to solve the violence, the insecurity. However, yesterday, it made a U-turn and suspended the Rugo settlement. What is the interpretation of this for you? Some have said, this was wisdom on the part of the president. Some groups are threatening that no, Ruga must go ahead. What do you make of it?
Yeah, first, I have always advocated that we must not employ sentiment or emotion in tackling issues of security. Security, there's no political solutions to security challenges. We must face security as it is. In the past, we've been faced with serious issues of herders-farmers clashes that have taken lives and caused food insecurity in the country. And there is need to use whatever means possible to resolve this issue. I believe that the suspension of the RUGADA is the Rural Grazing Area project by the government. It's ill-advised. First and foremost, the right steps were not taken in the first instance. First instance, you must have to sensitize Nigerians on what that project is all about. Like I said, many a times our expenses will dissipate a lot of energy in reactive instead of being proactive. If the government had come out to explain to Nigeria the rationale behind such project, then I believe that many Nigerians will have bought into it. But they did not take that steps. They came up with it, maybe believing that Nigerians would just accept it, hook, line, and sinker. But Nigerians didn't. Some Nigerians didn't. Some accepted it. We know that some state governments said, look, we cannot give any of our land for any issue. Some have said, yes, they have already signed into it, which is a solution. I believe that Ruga project is a solution. It's one of the solutions that could help to resolve that issues. If we can curtail the issues of grazing hiders into an area, like maybe using a more better word, we've been talking about ranching. This is ranching in itself. But if a particular state says, look, we don't have any land to be given, I do not see why the state must be forced or be asked that you must give your land by force. I don't think it's necessary. Ruga is a project that should have been sold to Nigeria properly by the government, which they never did. And so suspending it for now, it's a good option, it's a good way to go. But I believe that we must look for a solution that will help to prevent. Now we're having peace in this issue of hiders, farmers clashes, because it's raining. It's raining season up in the north. The grasses are green, and so not much of these hiders are going down south. But by the time we go into the dry season, then I believe we'll start experiencing the same issues. What solution? How can we prevent it from happening? This is time to start looking at a better solution so that not when people are being killed, then people are running helter-skelter. We are deploying physical security to try to quench and stop the issues. No, now we must look for a way to solve that problem.
Right. There's still many things, we'd like to talk to you about that are definitely on the front burner as regards this. We'll talk about the environmental implication. We'll talk about the psychological implication. We'll go to a quick break. We'll come back with Alera very soon after this.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. And before the break, we did tell you there was a fire incident in Ijegun area of Lagos this morning, a pipeline explosion. We do have our crew on ground, and Alera Dediare, our correspondent, joins us now from Ijegun, the site. Hello, Alera. Tell us what exactly is happening there. What do you know so far?
Hello, Adeswa. Can you hear me?
Alera, what do we know so far? I see you have an interview on the standby, but tell us what exactly is happening.
Yeah, definitely. It's actually a Black Thursday right here in Ijegun, somewhere Limosho local government, which is the largest local government in Lagos State. And with me is the acting director of the Lagos State Fire Service, Mrs. Margaret. She will be giving us updates on what's been going on right here. Good morning, ma.
Good morning.
Could you just get to tell us what's been going on right here and any updates?
Yes, I received a call as at 0507 hours this morning that there is a fire at Ijegun. I quickly turned out my men to the scene. Presently, we have fire truck from different stations, 5 stations on ground fighting the fire.
Okay, you said you got the distress call at about that time, but we could still get to see we could still get to see the fire is trying to be controlled, but still there's some gas stations that are still selling fuel. Don't you think it's actually going to be endangering the lives of people that are staying around this particular area?
Presently, we are at the top of situation. We have been able to curtail the fire to minimal rates. I want to assure the public, I want to assure the people that are living around to be rest assured that the fire will be extinguished.
All right, now let's talk about the casualties that have been involved in this incident. Can you give us a number?
Yes, we have 10 numbers of casualty. Eight of them were injured, while we have 2 suspected deaths.
Okay, you wanted to say something?
No.
So, regarding last time, now let's talk about the traffic, and we could get to still see a lot of people still standing around. Do you get to see this as being LD for them, and how do you think that these people can as well get to be dispersed from this place?
Not LD, but other stakeholders are managing the situation, and the situation is under control. It's under control.
All right. Over to you, Adeswa.
Alera, I also have Rufai here with me. Rufai, do you have a question? I see that fire still raging behind.
It's still raging. And Alera, when they say they have controlled the fire, to what extent? What's the percentage of control? Because I still see something raging at the back there, and it's not looking good. That's effluence, that's carbon, going out there, spewing out. That's going to be affecting the lungs of the people, the health of the people around it. They shouldn't even be that close to the fire over there.
But as you can get to see, that that's actually the best in which the fire can as well just get to be controlled. And they're trying as much as possible not to allow it spread to this other side. And it's just that they said one particular tanker has not been shut down, and that's why that particular fire is still being seen there. Over to you, Adeswa.
Alera, just a quick question. Do we know what caused this incident? Several reports are saying it's pipeline vandalism. We see a tanker there on fire. What exactly happened?
Okay, at about this particular spot is more or less like a place in which a lot of the tankers and vehicles are being parked, and it was said that it was probably get to be like a pipeline vandalism that took place middle of the night at about 3 a.m. or thereabouts, and that was when the fire started rather. Over to you, Adeswa.
Alera, do you have, updates about casualty? Have they been taken to the hospital? Where are they now? What's the health situation? And what's the cost of this damage? What's the material impact of this damage?
Okay, as you heard it from Mrs. Margaret, she said they have 10 casualties and 2 people have been confirmed dead. And while on our way down to this place, we saw the ambulance taking those other people down to the hospitals, various hospitals, and also the mortuary. Over to you.
Well, thank you, Alera. Stay safe. In the course of subsequent programs, we'll get to reach out to you to get further updates. Thank you, Alera Didiere, Arise correspondent there. Rufai, it's scary to see that smoke still billowing to the air, but it's also good to see that the authorities are on ground to tackle this. Now, to what extent they are tackling this is what I can't really tell.
I mean, it's quite a very painful sight out there because this kind of fire has become a recurring decimal in Nigeria. I remember same scenario happened 97, 98 around GC area. I remember that incident particularly because I saw people be buried in mass graves. That's the first time I was going to see people be buried in mass graves. And what was the factor involved? This same factor, people going to scoop fuel, doing all sorts, trying to make quick gains.
I would even say 97, it's a long time ago. Just 2 days ago in Benue State, we saw over 50 people lose their lives because a petrol tanker got into an accident trying to avoid a pothole. And then the people went on to scoop, despite the police warning them.
You remember
there was an explosion.
You remember last year in Abuja?
It was the same thing.
Also, you remember, the Lekki fire incident a couple of years back? So it's a recurring decimal, and we know the patterns. You remember the one that took the lives of millions of people, that a tanker laden with petroleum products went back all of a sudden and exploded, around that Otedola area coming into Lagos.
The Otedola Bridge, indeed.
Otedola Bridge, you remember that
I
incident?
remember.
Very painful one. I mean, it just leaves much to be desired.
Indeed.
And it looks as though we're not learning our lessons.
Yes, it doesn't look like we're learning. Well, let's go back to our guest in our Abuja studios, security expert, Mr. Patrick Aghambu. Mr. Patrick, many thanks for staying with us. We need to get that update from Aghambu. Still talking about the security challenges. Rufai, you had a question before we went to Alera.
I was talking about the fact that climate change too has a role to play in all of this. Take for instance, we all know that the Chad Basin, the Lake Chad Basin, is really plummeting. The kilometer of Lake Chad, for instance, used to be about over 30,000 kilometers, but now it's narrowed to about 16,000 kilometers in the space of over 20 years, from the 1970s to about now. And because of that, people are coming inland and inwards towards Nigeria to be able to look for water, to be able to ensure that their cattle graze. I mean, what's the implication of climate change as regards to security of Nigeria? Because it's a ticking time bomb we need to look at.
Yeah, it's a big challenge. The situation in Lake Chad Basin, it calls for serious attention. But I'm glad that the President of the Republic of Nigeria, Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, is doing something about it. Recently, he called the attention of the whole world, and even during the meeting at the OIC, he did call that there is need to get water into the Lake Chad Basin, and that is being looked into. And I believe that will be a very good solution to the issue of hiders coming down south for grazing. And some people are also actually not even Nigerians who come in to look for a greener pasture to graze their cattle. It's a big challenge. The climate change is a big issue, and but we have to be proactive. Like I said, it's time for us to quickly plan. Not only the climate change issue. We remember that there used to be the grazing line across from the upper north down towards the south in those days, which for now it's not existing again. For obvious reasons, some of these areas have been overtaken. They are now forests where criminals are hibernating and launching their mayhem to the society. Some of them have also been encroached into by the construction of roads. Development are coming in, houses are being built, estates are being built on this grazing land. So it has also affected it. So those are the areas, and that is why the need to come to the issue of ranching is very important. We believe that we must re-strategize and plan a proper way of managing our livestock agriculture system, so that instead of migrating and movement, we know it's a way of life of those people who are predominantly hiders, but it can be done much better than it's doing now.
Indeed, let's turn our attention now to the banditry and kidnappings that we're seeing across the country, especially kidnapping. Do you get any sense that there's any real tactics here to tackle this menace of kidnapping? Briefly, before we go.
Yeah, yes, there is move to take care of it. I must commend security agencies for rising up to the occasion, though in several occasions I have actually attacked them for not being proactive, because we saw the sign that we may have issues like this coming in the last 2 years. We cried that the need for security agencies to be proactive and the intelligence gathering to step up, arising from the sources of the Nigerian military, particularly the Nigerian Army in the northeast, where the terrorists were being decimated and incapacitated. Some of them escaped, left the battle areas towards northwest and north central, and coming down because they need to survive, and they have arms with them. And that has led to the banditry that we're experiencing. Some other people are coming across from the Niger Republic area into Zamfara states and coming in to create mayhem into the country. So we had said that the civil police, talking about the Department of State Security Services and the Nigerian Police Force, the intelligence group should be able to in the board if they are giving timely information to the operational group of the security services to prevent this from happening. But we're happy that things are getting better now, and I'm sure that with time we'll come out of it.
Okay. Okay, well, I'd like to say a very big thank you to Mr. Patrick Aghambu for being here and, enlightening us more on this matter. I'd like to say thank you for your time.